Okay, so I want to put in my floor now, definitely for the main space particularly, and so you can see, looking at the inserted JPEG drawing, that the edge of the floor material is it's set back from the edge of the tenancy. So we need to work out where that is first before we can do the floor. So again, I'm going to make a reference plane. Then I'm going to trace over that outer edge of the tenancy. So that's the red dashed line in the PDF, but you can see I'm actually tracing the AutoCAD line, hoping that it's more accurate. With any luck it will be. So here I can trace that diagonal AutoCAD line. And again, tracing the AutoCAD line back across the top. So then I might go back to the original ground floor plan, and you can see now I've got reference planes enclosing the whole tenancy. And that's an important thing. But also now I can select each of those and just check the measurements. Maybe no one will really know whether you've done this or not, except you, and you'll realise later if you don't round these numbers off that you'll get lots of unusual measurements. You can work that way, but you'll find it is probably easier if you have, again, the round numbers. So I'm going to make this 2650 instead of what it was. And again, this one here, not a round number, so 10926, I'll make 10925. So rounding it off to the nearest 5 mil. Yeah, so look, you can put some of the detail that you've got in the walls there, but it's often easier just to do it more simply and then add in the detail later. No. So I didn't do reference planes for everything. I just did reference planes for the outside of the tenancy. Not for everything, no. So I'm just trying to enclose the tenancy as simply as possible without too many. So if you go around even the So here, this may not be part of the tenancy, but you don't really need to put reference planes in for that, for the hydrant or the hose reel. But yeah, that's detail we'll worry about later. I know you'll put the walls in for that at some point, and but again, it's not really important at this stage. We're looking at more at the overall measurements. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to go and make a floor, and that's the stage that you should try and get to, so that you've got a base for what you make in 3D. So using the floor tool, so if you missed it, I'm not using any special options. I'm just going to click on the button that says floor, not the arrow next to it or below it. So just where it says floor, that will give you an architectural floor. And then in the draw panel, you can see that it's got pick walls as the default option, and you can pick the wall on the left, I think, and the wall at the bottom, and the wall, on the right, over here. You just pick all of those walls. The wall next to the lift as well, and up near the ramp. So all those main walls can be picked, but there are no walls at this stage to pick here, and I don't need them anyway. So you might have made floors only with pick walls, but it's important you realise you can use any of these other options. So I'm just going to switch back to drawing lines. So that's the first option there, the line button. And then you can just click to draw, so you can use the reference planes there. Just going to trace those. I know this is not where the floor should be. I'm doing this deliberately, so I'm going to just again trace those reference planes that I've just made. No, do it this way. So I'm going to show you a trick that you can use to move these lines afterwards. So I'm just going to bring it down to the corner. If you've put the hydrant in, you can go around that, but if you haven't, then you can just take it to the corner like this. So I'm just going to show you this now so you can see the shape, and I'll use trim to corner and just join those together. So I've got a closed shape, and that would work as a basic floor, but I want to refine the edges now a little bit more, and that's really what I wanted to show you. So hopefully drawing these edges is something that you are getting pretty comfortable with using the options that you have here. But now to move the edges, we've got two different setups essentially. We've got the lines that I made by picking the walls, and to move those or to adjust those, I'm just going to select one of them and click on that arrow that comes up in the middle. And you'll see that that's flipping all of those lines that are on walls. And it's flipping them to the outside because I want the floor to go on the outside of my wall there. Now, these other lines, I want to move them as well, but I need to do that a bit differently. So I'm just going to go back and check the measurement. Hopefully it's the same all the way around. I'm going to assume it is. So I'm going to just check here by measuring 175. Let's measure this way too. 180 is what I get there. So I'm going to round that and go, or split the difference and say 180 is the amount I want to move this back. So these lines weren't made by picking walls. So I can just use the regular tools in Modify. I'm going to click on the Offset button and then put in the offset distance I want there on the options bar. Make that 180. So if you're not using these tools up here, it's important that you learn all of them. They're all really useful, and you can't really use Revit effectively if you can't use these tools. So you should try and learn all of those. And so here, offset is the one I'm trying to show you. It's a really useful one. So here, the distance is probably the most important thing you need to set usually with offset. But then here, I'm also going to turn this copy option off. And now, I'm going to pick each of these lines, but I'm going to make sure before I choose them that the dashed line goes on the side I want. So I want these to all come inside our shop, so I'm going to bring it down, not up. And then pick my line, and you'll see it's going to move it, not copy it. So each of these sides now I can pick, and now it's set out the same distance from the reference planes on those three sides. Okay, tick to finish. Have a look in 3D. And you can already get a pretty good feel for the size of the space in 3D just by looking at that. If you want to finish it off a little bit more and have something with more of a base to show what's around the shop, then you could easily make another floor, and I'll do this really fast because it should be pretty easy. So I'm going to make a new floor, and now just with the line tool I can trace what I've just done just by clicking onto the edges of my previous floor. So this is fairly rough because it won't be part of your design really. And here I'm just going to come down past the wall, or you're like, yeah, I'll come down past that and I'll do another floor if I need to. And then I'm coming out fairly roughly, so I don't know how big that open space is. Can fix that later. Just bringing it back so I can close it. And we've got a ramp over here as well, so I'm not being too precious about this because I know it'll all change. So just got another floor outside so that it doesn't look like our main floor is floating in space. So that gives you the option of easily setting a different material, and a little quick thing I can show you there is that you have built-in floors for things like standard things like concrete that you can just choose from the list there, and when you look at a view that shows materials, you'll clearly see the difference between the outside and the floor as part of your space. So that's probably a good starting setup, and once you've got the shop front in there, you can probably start to even get 3D views of the space that you can even start to trace and use for your other design work. But again, I'll give you some time maybe to try and get to that stage, and hopefully we'll have time to do curtain walls after that.